And alongside my graduate scheme at Siemens, I got this opportunity to, work with Steve Jones through the connected curriculum to deliver essentially a course to students regarding Senseye Predictive Maintenance. And yeah, that's just a quick brief about me.
Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Trend Detection Podcast. I'm really pleased to be joined by my colleague, Jasleen Kaur. And we're sort of carrying on a topic we've covered a couple of times on the podcast, and it's one that's I'm really sort of passionate about because it's so fascinating. And I won't go into the details because I'm going to let Jasleen sort of give us a bit of a reminder of it. But we've done a few podcasts in the past around an initiative called Connected Curriculum. We've done an interview with Steve Jones, who is also based in Siemens UK, who's sort of running the initiative. And we also did a very special episode from Manchester Metropolitan University as well, where students are actually, in this case, Senseye, are actually being taught the skills in AI. And we're going to go into that in more detail today. But they're being taught these skills using Senseye, which is just a fantastic initiative from my point of view, and getting people really interested in the topic as well. But before we go into why we're talking today, I'll hand over to you, Jasleen, to give a bit of background about yourself and your involvement in the project as well.
Sure, Niall. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Just to introduce myself a little bit, my name's Jasleen. I'm a graduate electrical and electronics engineer working at Siemens Digital Industries. And alongside my graduate scheme at Siemens, I got this opportunity to, work with Steve Jones through the connected curriculum to deliver essentially a course to students regarding Senseye Predictive Maintenance. And that's just a quick brief about me.
And really, I guess at the heart of this, the connected curriculum, Jasleen, from my experience as well. So it really is about connecting academia and industry leaders like Siemens, of course, and educating students on new upcoming technologies. AI is obviously at the heart of that, but not just AI, of course, as well.
Yeah. So the course that I have been running is the Senseye Predictive Maintenance, which of course involves a range of technologies. Including like information technology and operational technology, integration and data handling. And this is one part of the connected curriculum, which is the Senseye Predictive Maintenance course. But of course, connected curriculum covers a wide range of bespoke leading industrial technologies that help students bridge this skill shortage and the gap between industry and the skills that you learn at university.
Fantastic. Yeah, very well summarised, I think. And yeah, it's a very good reason why I'm sort of very intrigued by this topic and the third podcast on the topic. But I guess we're coming a slightly different angle. I mean, you mentioned, first of all, you were given the opportunity by Steve. So how did that come about, first of all?
So as I mentioned earlier, I recently started my graduate scheme. And of course, at Siemens, there's this whole thing about, growth mindset, growing your skills, soft skills, technical skills. And I was introduced to Steve by another graduate themselves. And, Steve came up and was like, hi, Jasleen, this is an opportunity, this is an exciting opportunity where you get to present, to a wide range of students, and you get to learn this, like this whole thing about, Senseye, AI, and how predictive maintenance actually happens. So, I met Steve, and then I got to know about Senseye, learned about Senseye, delved into it, how essentially it works. And then, of course, created this course essentially about Senseye Predictive Maintenance and how essentially we would deliver these course to students, how they can learn what Senseye is, and essentially how it's used in the industry and what predictive maintenance is. So that's how I came about with this opportunity and presenting to students.
And I guess just to start with, I mean, not to make this all about Senseye, but in terms of what sort of intrigued you about Senseye, got you sort of excited for the project, even if just hearing about being described to you and that kind of thing, what were your feelings around that?
So, in the industry, of course, you have like things such as condition monitoring and, looking at the factory floor. And I knew a bit about this just from, reading about certain situations on the factory floor. And as I was introduced to Sensei, I understood that this was completely like it is the forefront of, leading industry technologies and essentially like what predictive maintenance is. So, and how it differs from condition monitoring. So I learned about that and I was like, wow, this is great. This is where I want to grow my skills, learn more about essentially how this works. So yeah, from that, I got into Sensei and then I researched it a little bit on my own, essentially what it does, where it has been used, any, user stories and things like that. And then that's from exactly where my interest delved more within this software itself.
No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And I guess what intrigued me about your story as well, Jasleen, I should say actually for the audience, it was actually a LinkedIn post I think you did, Jasleen, which sort of drew my
Yeah.
attention to what you were doing, which was fantastic. But in terms of that transition from a student to, let's say, an educator, what were your sort of motivations behind that? I think you described it a little bit there, but was there anything that very distinct shift from learning to the learner, as it were? And then you also described some of the creating the module. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you put the module together, or in collaboration with others, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah. So yeah, this was an exciting opportunity because the same year I graduated from university and stepped into the industry. And then a few months into my placement, I am, suddenly becoming an educator. So yeah, I think why essentially I chose this opportunity was because coming from university myself and entering this industry, I realized that the skills that you learn at university are not essentially the same that you would need in the industry. And this is something the initiative of connected curriculum covers, but something I would also like to contribute back. After learning this sort of that more skills are needed in terms of when you're entering the industry. So that's where I was like, yes, I will take this opportunity, helping students learn more about industry relevant technologies. So when I took this project that Steve presented with, um, essentially the students that we were going to be presenting to were new to predictive maintenance. Essentially, they didn't realize essentially what condition monitoring is, what would predictive maintenance be, and exactly what Senseye is. So keeping that in mind, the course that we designed essentially runs from it's 2 hour sessions over the course of the 3 weeks, and that was designed due to technical implications such as taking in the data, which would take a bit of time. So we designed the course over the 3 weeks, and within the first week we kept it relevant as the students would be learning about what condition monitoring is, what predictive maintenance is, and all the the background information. Setting the essential background that the students need to learn and take on this course. So from that, they were given scenarios. What happens on the factory floor. Using diagrams and visuals, explaining to them what predictive maintenance is and how it differs from condition monitoring, and giving all of that background, then delving into where Senseye sits and essentially what it provides to customers. And of course, for as it runs over the 3 weeks, within the first week the students were able to navigate the Senseye platform, add different assets to the Senseye platform to allow for data ingestion over the upcoming weeks. And within the second week, they delved more into, data handling, the technical expertise of the platform. And then by the end of the third week, they were able to understand what Senseye does, how essentially what are the benefits of the platform, and what you can get out of it as a Senseye user. So that's how the 3 week course was essentially delivered.
No, fantastic. And what a fantastic overview that was as well. That's incredibly clear. That's fantastic. And I guess in that period, is it one thing I picked out, you mentioned at the start, was really identifying from the very start the differences between condition monitoring and predictive maintenance, which again I think is still, as predictive maintenance has become a bigger and bigger term over the past 4 years I've been sort of involved in it. There's still this confusion between the two. So it's interesting that you decided to start there and compare the two. Was that the reason why you sort of started in that area? And were the students, mixing up the two to start with? Maybe that was why you decided to sort of set the groundwork at the beginning.
Yeah, so essentially, students realize that, of course, there are faults at the factory. There's like unplanned downtimes, machines break. And then some students did know that, condition monitoring is where you monitor the states of the machines. However, of course, something that they needed to learn within the course or the background is essentially that predictive maintenance is where where the drawbacks of condition monitoring essentially are covered. So where in condition monitoring you can monitor the condition of the machine and essentially find out how the machine's health is. You're not really preventing any unplanned downtimes. You're not really preventing where the machines are broke before the machines break down. And this is where the students learn that predictive maintenance is where you're predicting you know how the machine is going to behave, or any failures that are going to be upcoming within the next few weeks for a machine. And that's something that the students had to learn as the first learning objective, essentially.
And I guess to continue sort of, those sort of learning outcomes, as the sort of course progressed, what were, if you think from a student point of view, what were their sort of, oh my God, that's amazing moments, or maybe it wasn't that exaggerated, but, moments where they're like really sort of like, oh, wow, this is completely different to what I thought it was, or where their mindset sort of changed. Can you identify those kind of moments?
Yes.
Or, yeah.
So exactly, the amazing moment was, how when they were using the platform, they realized how AI can, help them, understand these machines, using natural language. They are understanding how the machines are behaving, troubleshooting, the data or the machine health that is currently happening. And that's exactly like at the end of so the third week within the course, they were, analyzing the data and the machines that they had on the platform. And from that, when they, integrated with the Copilot, Senseye Copilot, they were like, wow, this is amazing. I can finally understand what's happening. Like, they were shocked that even as beginners into this field, they were like, wow, I can, understand what's happening. I can troubleshoot. And, this amazing technology as it is.
And that's interesting. It's interesting you bring up the Copilot as well, because even from my perspective, I mean, Sensei has been a brilliant product before, pre implementation of that technology. It's always obviously been there. It's been with the growth of LLMs, but for someone like me, it's helped to understand and use the product much easier. So I guess from let's say a teaching perspective, did it assist with that kind of thing? Help them understand the concept a lot more? Would you say, Jasleen?
Yeah, so of course, as an educator myself, I set the background for them, and then helping. So as much as I can explain to them the benefits of Sensei, it's great that they get to see this live. That rather than me just going on at them like this is the benefits, this is Sensei, this is great. They get to see it in person and use this co-pilot to like help them even like delve further into the problems or like the fictitious scenario that we used, essentially.
And actually, that was something we didn't mention, because something we've mentioned on the podcast with Steve and the other podcasts is the use of sort of synthetic data, right? That's an important thing to sort of maybe point out. I mean, why was that? I mean, maybe we can remind the audience of why the project was sort of approached in that way, using synthetic instead of live data.
Yeah, so of course, using live data can have, security issues, and it's not the ideal solution. So the best way we as a team decided to deliver this course was to use synthetic data based on, that replicates the faults that actually happen on the factory floor. So that way, students can understand get a perspective into what troubles that can happen on a factory floor, but also safeguarding the use of factory data, or using, rather than using live data, of course using this synthetic data.
Yeah, and maybe because we talk about security aspect, but I think it's actually the because obviously you're not on a factory floor, right? It's something that's being set. Because if you wanted to go down that route, it'd have to be running constantly.
Yeah.
Which isn't practical. Even if you stop it and start it, that's not. It doesn't work how Senseye would work in real life, because it would be etc. So I guess that's an important point to point out as well.
Yeah, exactly. So even with the factory, like if we used live data, we would of course have to, collaborate with the factory, get the sensors running, and of course have some sort of confidentiality or cybersecurity set up in that sense. And of course, if we wanted to deliver this course to a wide range of audiences, so this could be, students or at a certain university or a different university, having synthetic data essentially helps, safeguard, or makes it much easier to deliver the course itself.
And I guess we go back to the learnings of the students. So of course, and I think you sort of said it right a bit earlier as well, that there's only so much you can learn by reading, and I mean, and of course lectures and stuff. You do learn a lot, but until you the practicality of the course, I guess, is where its real strength lies. But from your point of view, Jasleen, how does that translate into those sort of first roles in manufacturing environments, on shop floor environments? What are the key sort of takeaways for students?
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned, from the first week, the students essentially are able to navigate the platform, and they've got, the whole session is designed to be as much uh, as practical as possible. And from this, over the course of the 3 weeks, they learn a wide range of skills that correlate to, entry level roles, such as, they're learning about data handling, how the data connects from an operational technology level to a, information technology level, and then connecting that into Sensei, and how to handle that data so it's optimized for the LLM, and from that, then troubleshooting to make decisions. And of course, with the rise of AI, they can use AI, but they need to learn that making these decisions for maintenance engineers, or as interpreting the machine health, you can rely on the AI outputs, but at the end of the day, it depends on you as the user to decide which is the most relevant relevant suggestion of the AI, or whether the AI suggestions are accurate, or essentially that. And along with that, they also do a bit of block programming. So not only just being handling data in terms of like inspecting it, where how it's behaving, but also filtering the data to um, essentially be optimized. Um, and then from that block programming, they then of course are able to learn how to expand those data handling skills, not only just on the Sensei platform, but which comes use in other scenarios as well.
And it's interesting. I mean, you're so right. Even in real life projects with global manufacturers, it's the same thing, right? That the AI can, the platform can produce insights and guidance, but if no one takes action for or believes in it, then it's not going to prove its value. Which again, I think is quite important. And I guess on that sort of note, Jasleen, would you say that maybe at the early stage of the course or during the course, was there sort of misconceptions about predictive maintenance, that it would be able to provide exact analysis on the exact day that something's going to fail, for example? I mean, that's something we often hear with customers sometimes, but is there anything like that you can sort of remember?
So in terms of the course itself, I think we have to keep in mind these students are not experts, and
Yeah.
what they have is a basic understanding of the platform itself. So in terms of the misconceptions that the student have with regards to Sensei Predictive Maintenance, I think the first initial thought of them was that this is basically scheduled maintenance with like a bit of fancy sensors, but of course this is not. And that's where I kind of had to like, break it down to them, layer by layer, using as much examples, videos that I can use to like explain to them how it proves to be beneficial. And essentially, this was within the first weeks of the course. And of course, by the end of the course, they were able to understand, of course, this is not just, basic maintenance, and how useful it can be in terms of predicting essential failures, or, that preventing unplanned downtime on a factory floor.
And I know we talked a lot about what the course involved, and the different areas you cover. But is there anything you'd keep exactly as it is, or would you change anything in future? On reflection afterwards, is there any self-reflection you've done in terms of improvements, or what you could do next, even?
Yeah, sure. So, I think one of the main aspects that I found were great for the students is within the second week, something called derived measures. And essentially, this is kind of where students can delve a bit more deeper into the platform. And this is very collaborative, as students will ask, each other questions, and, try to understand how this sits within the Sensei platform. And I think in terms of reflecting on the course itself, I think that using this one fictitious scenario kind of limits the students' collaboration. So I think having, or explaining to the students, giving them 2 to 3 different scenarios of what can happen on a factory floor in terms of machines helps for a more collaborative learning. So they'll, rather than the students having the same scenario, they can work within groups or different groups to understand, oh, what's that scenario? What happened to yours? Helping to support that collaborative learning within the classroom.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that term as well, collaborative learning. Again, there's many different forms of learning, but I think it's almost a combination of you have the lectures, you have the hands-on stuff, maybe individually, but you also then come together and share your thoughts with others, because you might, of course, we can learn from other people's experiences as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think especially within a classroom, and in this digital age, I think it's very important that we get this in-person collaboration between students and a whole team working together to perhaps understand this course, delve more into Sensei, exact essentially.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and like I said, it's really amazing. And I was going to say, I mean, are you carrying on, to do this? Is this just a one-off thing you're doing, or is it something you're going to continue to do, continue to support moving forward?
So initially, this was planned to be just one session that I would have delivered, which was at the MMU. But within the last year, I've delivered these sessions like to 3 different places, including the MMU. So, given the experience, I believe like as long as my role, allows, in the future, I would, definitely love to contribute to the Connected Curriculum Initiative. Helping these students, gain as much technical understanding they can before they enter the industry themselves.
And I guess as well, Jesse, we've talked about what students learn, but what have you learned from the process as well? Your own sort of personal reflections.
Yeah, sure.
Or
For
got
me
out
it's
of the
been quite,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, just got what you got out of the experience as well. I was just going to say, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think for me, this has been a great journey where, of course, I've learned the technical, information about Sensei and how Sensei sits within the industry and how amazing a technology it is. I've also, enhanced my like, my own growth itself, presenting to not just like university students, I've presented to like younger students themselves as well. So, being able to deliver a course to different audiences in a slightly different format was something that I've learned over the course of the courses over the course of the Sensei deliveries, and like essentially, just go giving back to the community. I think that's just something everyone should do and be a part of.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm exactly the same as well. For the opportunities through Siemens, actually, there's lots of opportunities to give back and stuff, which is a big plus point for working in such a brilliant organisation. So as we come to the end, Jasleen, it's been really fascinating again to look at your sort of points of view on this fantastic initiative. I guess we just wanted to finish with a couple of sort of very quick fire questions, if that's okay. And in particular, I guess the first one sort of relates back to what you were talking about with the co-pilot and the use of the co-pilot. And I guess, we know this technology is just, and AI is continuing to grow. It's everywhere in every sort of aspect of our lives. But is the co-pilot as an example, is that a natural sort of workflow? Do you see that already for students, to use? They automatically think this is normal for me. And I'm interested as someone who's obviously a bit older and coming into it from a different angle. But is it something that, from day one, they're like, this is just how we do things now? I'm just sort of interested in that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question because, as I mentioned, I graduated like recently before starting this role as an educator. So, whilst I was, from this perspective of a student, essentially like we were already used to using AI within, helping us understand the tough concepts that we have at university. So when we're coming into this workplace and, using this industrial AI, I think it's not a shock of us as much. And we think this is actually much, much more supportive, especially for new starters. For example, in the industry, or even students that are learning to wanting to learn more about industry technologies, because essentially they can help AI to go deeper and decompose the overall solution of the AI essentially. So yeah, I think from my perspective as a student and as an educator, I think the use of AI is becoming much more natural over time.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, of course, because you weren't a student that long ago either, so I could just ask your perspective as well, of course. But no, that's really interesting. That is really interesting. And then the final question is really about, bearing in mind everything they've learned on the course and everything else they're learning, in other aspects. What is one habit that students should take before their first day on a shop floor or in a plant? What's one key thing they should sort of consider?
Yeah, so I think this definitely correlates back to, AI in the workplace. I think one habit that every student should learn is to not solely rely on AI, to, have your own understanding, make sure that their own critical thinking and troubleshooting skills are are strong from the start, so that anything that the AI suggests, they're not taking it straight away. They're analyzing, raising or escalating results, for deeper, to higher experts to understand, the basics of the technologies.
Exactly. No, fantastic. And what a fantastic way to end as well, I should say. So, again, I'm almost certain that this topic will be covered again as adoption grows, more students, more courses are created around AI and the Senseye topic as well. But thank you today for giving your perspective, Jasleen. I really do appreciate it.
Oh no, thank you. It was great speaking to you. Yeah, and I think this initiative connected curriculum is amazing, as the students get to learn more about the industry, leading technologies. And yeah, thank you so much for today.
That's okay. And just for everyone else's benefit as well, I'll ensure we link to all the relevant resources, say the connected curriculum website, webpage, on the Siemens website, plus our previous podcasts we referred to earlier, in case you want to have a broader look into the topic. But for today, thank you, Jasleen, again. And I'd like to thank everyone out there for listening wherever you are, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels, and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.